home run riches from the Maryland Lottery, I have the chance to win cash or to be selected as a contestant of the game. I can win $500 for every Orioles home run, plus $5,000 for a grand slam. Things can get pretty nuts! Make the right call and play home run riches from the Maryland Lottery.
Good morning, Baltimore. It is Monday, April 13th, and thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of the Early Birds podcast. I'm your host, Matt Weyrich, alongside columnist Josh Tolentino. Josh, we just left Camden Yards, where the Orioles picked up a series win over the San Francisco Giants. They have won 5 of the last 6, and it's only April 13th, but they're in first place.
5 of last 6 with 12, soon to be 13 guys on the IL. How are you doing, Matt? We're about 2.5 weeks into the season. Hopefully no bumps or bruises for you, man, because this Orioles, they're just going down by like flies. But to Craig Albernaz and his squad's credit, they've found ways to really take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of them. 5 of their last 6 to climb back into a 3-way tie as of the we're entering Monday morning for atop the AL East with Tampa Bay and New York.
Yeah, certainly too soon to be looking too closely at the standings, but with the amount of injuries the Orioles had and really the overall inconsistent play so far, for them to be a game over at this point speaks to how they've been able to weather the storm so far. They are at 8-7, farther into the season above 500 than they were at any point in 2025. So they've already made it deeper in this year without letting the season get away from them. So certainly that bodes well, but they have a long way to go, certainly in this division, but also the American League right now. It's very wide open. No team really running away with any of the divisions. So Orioles have not let themselves fall too far behind, but some of these injuries, and we'll talk about them, not exactly boding well. They're going to have to continue to show this fight that they've had and be able to step up for guys who hit the IL.
Yeah, and they're getting these performances. Shout out to Cade Povich on his 26th birthday. He twirls a gem, almost goes 7 innings and only gives up 1 run in a tough spot in terms of the status of the rotation. Obviously, them losing Eflin, and then we get a pile of injuries. Just not just this week, but specifically this weekend. And you think about, just the situation with Tyler O'Neill when it goes from an illness, and then Craig Albernaz on Sunday reveals that it's actually a concussion. He gets placed on the IL. He's joining Adley Rutschman there, who had a hot start to the season. And Ryan Mountcastle, and baseball's such a weird, interesting, funny game, and I think that's why we all love it. But unfortunately, it comes with these freak injuries, man. You think of Ryan Mountcastle and Adley Rutschman's injury, both occurring on doubles, on positive plays for both of them at the plate. But as they're turning first base, just awkwardly, applying pressure on their left side, and their left side doesn't hold up, and there are some still frames of Adley and Mountie, with their ankle and their foot, all twisted, almost parallel to the ground, and you just got to feel for those guys. But in Adley's case, it sounds like he avoided a major break. In Mountcastle's case, what was the exact definition of the broken bone?
Yeah, he had a broken bone in his left foot, the fourth. Oh, man. You're testing my medical knowledge, but it was something.
Fourth menstrual, I think.
Yeah. Something like that. Bone in his foot. Certainly a tough blow for Mountcastle, who wasn't even starting every day, to get an opportunity to be in the lineup there. And it's also, you funny say baseball's a funny game. He was only in the lineup because Adley Rutschman was scratched with his ankle injury in the first place, and then he ends up getting hurt and replaced by Dylan Beavers in that game. So yeah, in the last time since we had our last episode, it's Adley Rutschman, left ankle inflammation, though the MRIs did come back. Seems like he has dodged a major bullet there. Could be back within the minimum 10 games. He's out. We have a broken foot for Ryan Mountcastle. No timetable given for him, but certainly expect him to be sidelined for an extended period of time. And then Tyler O'Neill, who evidently, as we're finding out now that the details after all this happened, but had some kind of illness last week, not feeling well throughout the week, and then during the off day was so dehydrated from the illness that he fainted, hit his head, then came to the ballpark, was in the lineup, got scratched from the lineup, because he started feeling dizzy, and then next day placed on the injured list. So a tough week for Tyler O'Neill. That's the 18th time in O'Neill's career that he has landed on the IL, and we talked about this a lot, but
fourth time with the Orioles, right?
Yeah, I mean, with O'Neill, you kind of expect at this point that he's going to be sidelined for an extended period of time. This does feel like a very freak incident here, with fainting and hitting your head. I mean, it's not something I think anyone would have expected, but it's also kind of the way things have gone for Tyler O'Neill throughout his career. So in the meantime, they are going to have to not necessarily patch things together, because they already had more than enough capable outfielders on this roster, but certainly without O'Neill in the lineup and Ryan Mountcastle, that's two key right-handed bats that you were expected to have against left-handed pitching. So we're actually going to see the Orioles face their first lefty of the year on Wednesday against D-backs lefty Eduardo Rodriguez. So interested to see what that lineup looks like, especially with no Tyler O'Neill and Ryan Mountcastle available.
Yeah, and if you're Craig Albernaz, I think the most encouraging part of all of this is you see Pete Alonso. He's breaking out of a so-called slump, definitely a cold start to the season. Critical at bats that really, I mean, obviously they had already had the lead, but I mean, just padding the result on Sunday. But I feel like there still has not been a game where pitching and really the heart of the lineup have intertwined in terms of positive results on both sides. So I think it's almost like a what do you call that? The jack in the box when you're winding it up.
Yeah.
They've yet to explode, and maybe that's the best thing, because we're still in April, but still waiting for a game where they collectively can all put it together.
Yeah, and I think they're looking for a series where they can all put it together, both on the pitching front and the hitting. It seemed at times that one has had to carry the other a little bit, but the last two games against San Francisco, both pretty sound wins overall. Not necessarily
Sunday
the greatest
definitely
day.
one of their more complete performances of the year.
No doubt. I mean, to score 6 runs in back-to-back games, that's the first time they've done that this year. But also, not that Chris Bassett was all that great on Saturday, but for the bullpen to pick him up like it did, bullpen has actually started to round into form a little bit and was looking a little shaky early on, but even with guys like Dietrich Enns on the IL right now, Yaramil Geraldo as well, they have started to see guys really settle into their roles, whether it's Grant Wolfram coming in against lefties, Ynier Cano getting ground balls with guys on base. We're seeing Rico Garcia and Anthony Nunez working in those key setup man spots. And Ryan Helsley has had a couple of adventures so far, but no blown saves to this point. So I think the Orioles have to be pretty happy with the state of the bullpen. And as the rotation here rounds into form, we might be seeing Dean Kramer making his season
We certainly
debut.
saw him.
We saw him. We were at Camden Yards after Sunday's game and saw Dean Kramer warming up, doing some light tossing on the field there. So he is in Baltimore. He's made it to Camden Yards, and we expect him to be activated for Monday's game, which they list TBA as their probable pitcher. So I'd imagine he starts there. The question is do they send down Cade Povich or something else? But by the time you all listen to this, they probably have already made the roster move, so we won't dive too much into that. But now getting Kramer into the rotation here, I think we're going to really start to see what this group could look like now that a couple of guys have had the chance to shake off rust. And Kramer here, as admirably as Brandon Young and Cade Povich filled in, certainly a guy that they feel like is a true floor raiser for this group.
Happy birthday to Cade Povich. What's your Cade Povich? He 100% deserved the standing ovation. What do you think of Chris Bassett getting that standing O?
Yeah, I mean, it was like a grind of an outing, but I think for Bassett, it was honestly like, hey, you're not Charlie Morton, a little bit of a standing ovation for him after how disastrous 10 runs over his first 2 outings to, had one bad inning, but other than that, kind of put things together and probably could have gotten through the 5th. They decided to pull him with 2 runners in scoring position there for a bullpen arm, and you get that, wanting to make sure you get the out there in what was a close game at the time. But, is it standing ovation worthy? No, but I think a standing ovation in April versus one in September mean a whole lot different.
Well, I imagine what happens when he gets through 5.
I know.
Which is maybe a tease
jumping up and down.
Tease to our
segment
later.
Let's go ahead and dive into our segment of the day. And this is a new one that I'm excited to debut. Figure we lean into the birds theme here a little bit. We're calling it Ready to Leave the Nest. And we're talking about some proclamations that each of us are going to make about the Orioles to date, and we'll kind of judge each other on them and say whether the opinion is ready to take flight or if it should stay in the nest. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And I don't know if this is spicy or not. I don't know where you feel about this, Josh, but my first proclamation here is Leody Taveras should be the Orioles' everyday center fielder until he cools off at the plate. We've seen Taveras start 3 straight games here in this Giants series. In all of his starts so far this year, he has at least 1 hit, several multi-hit games. He plays a very good center field. And with Tyler O'Neill on the concussion IL right now, there is an opening in the outfield.
Yeah, and I wonder about his range in comparison to Cowser out there in the field. But, I mean, I can't imagine the drop-off is that much, if any. And specifically, man, if you're talking offensively and what both of those guys bring to the plate, I think you got to go with the switch, who they dedicated a decent amount of money to in the offseason in Taveras. And, man, for Colton Cowser, and I know he good thing for him that he most recently got a hit against against some off-speed, man, but he's certainly struggled against that specific pitch early on.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to really, and I talked about this on the radio the other day, but he's kind of been thrust into a competition with Dylan Beavers for playing time. I mean, we're seeing Beavers get a decent number of starts in center field, but also starting in right with Cowser on the bench. Now, Cowser did have a nice last couple of games there, and it made a big play in right field. Playing a ball off the wall barehanded and keeping, I believe it was Rafael Devers, but somebody from getting to second on a double. It's still very early, but yes, encouraging to see Cowser make that play, but also to hit the changeup for the first time all season, getting a hit off of one. It certainly has been tough for him. It's something he's trying to lay off of more to make pitchers have to give him his pitches at the top of the zone. So we'll see if that approach starts to pay off more. But where are you on my Taveras take here? Do you think that one's ready to leave the nest?
We are leaving the nest.
We're leaving the nest.
Yeah, I mean, Cowser has to. I mean, he really has to start improving at the plate. Otherwise, man, I mean, I'm talking about like a few weeks where he might not even be with the big league club. For a temporary fix there to really get it together offensively.
We'll see. They certainly maybe dodged some roster crunch bullets here with the injuries that they've had the last few days. If everybody was healthy, they had a decision to make, whether it was Cowser or whether it was Kobe Mayo or Jeremiah Jackson. Somebody was probably going to have to get the short end of that stick. But now, when Jackson Holliday does come back, which he should be coming back in the next few days, his time that he can spend down in AAA for a rehab assignment is coming up here. Right now, it seems like they have an easier decision there to make. But on Taveras, 2023 was his last good offensive season, and even then his OPS plus was only a couple of ticks over 100. So he's never been that crazy of a bat offensively. But even that year, he had 14 home runs, 14 stolen bases. Can make an impact here. Hit 260, I believe, on that season. So not somebody who I'm expecting to carry the lineup by any means. But if you can get above average defense in center field, bottom of the lineup type hitter who can steal some bases and pop a few out, I like what I see from him so far. And certainly I think the approach has been good. We're not seeing him swing and miss very much. I think the whiff rate so far is around 17%, which is fantastic. So I like what I've seen from Leody Taveras, who, we talked all offseason about their big offseason, all these huge moves. And Taveras was one that definitely flew under the radar, but so far is really paying off.
Yeah, and he does fill a vet role, especially his experience on the Rangers. He didn't necessarily call that series and his performance against them a revenge game, but he certainly rode that momentum into this most recent series, as you alluded to. His starts with hitting every single one of them. So yeah, I'm leaving the nest with you.
Leave the nest with me. How about you? What's your next one?
All right, my
first one.
My bold one. It's going to be Samuel Basallo, who is really under a microscope now with Adley Rutschman sidelined for the time being. He finishes top 3 in home runs and top 3 in strikeouts
on the Orioles.
Yeah, of course. So I mean, I am saying this after he blasted what was the distance?
396 feet opposite field.
Almost 400.
Yeah.
Man, anytime he launches the ball, it just feels like it's on a rope. I mean, and actually, so Matt actually asked Pete Alonso, who Sammy Basallo, who's his locker mate in the clubhouse, who his swing reminds him of. I thought he was going to go. He could have gone a couple of ways with it, especially given Pete's experience in the league.
I thought he might give us a name. Didn't give us a name, but he said he's in a class of his own,
Exactly.
which is a compliment in and of itself. And so you say that he's going to finish top 3 on the Orioles in home runs and strikeouts. And if I look at the Orioles right now, looking at the home run leaderboard, I mean, Gunnar and Pete Alonso are probably the 2 that you would lock into that top 2 spots. At number 3, he'd have to overtake Taylor Ward is probably the most likely candidate there, especially.
He's tied for 3rd in strikeouts with 14 with Taylor Ward.
Yeah, I'll get to strikeouts, but I think it's definitely reasonable that he could be that number 3 guy. I mean, we haven't seen Taylor Ward leave the yard yet. He leads the major leagues in doubles.
Taylor Two
so
Bags.
you'd think that Taylor Two Bags. I think we'd expect that some of those doubles start to turn into home runs as the weather heats up, but Basayo has that raw power. I don't hate the take. I just wonder if he's going to get on base enough and it becomes a bit more of a one-dimensional power hitter. Just early in his career, being 21 years old, it's really hard to have a high on-base percentage like that.
Durability as well is going to be a big factor.
Yes,
It seems
he's got
like
to play enough games.
Yeah, and obviously he's been healthy to his credit to this point. But even in spring, in those small instances or scenes, and it ends up being nothing, as we've learned. But even the minor ones, for such a big guy like that, for him to go down, it seems like it could be like that. It's such a serious thing, and he's back in the lineup next day, so back in the cage the next day. So durability is going to have to play a large role for Sammy Basayo to finish top 3 in home runs and top 3 in strikeouts.
Yep. Strikeouts, I can definitely see, man. I think if Colton Cowser plays enough games, he's probably my leading bet to lead the team in strikeouts. But I could see, Gunnar still strikes out a decent rate. I think Basayo, though, that's probably where my concern, and I say concern, it's really just about what he will do in 2026, not about his long-term outlook. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player long-term, but he's so young, one of the youngest players in baseball, 21 years old, and hitting major league pitching is really hard. Yep. So on the strikeout side, I definitely can see it, and considering that he's probably right within range of the top 3 in home runs, I would say you can take flight with that take as well.
Taking flight with me. Are we gonna do their
How do they do it with
celebration?
their hands? Is it like because Basayo did it rounding the bases?
He did.
I like that. I like that incorporating it into the home run
obviously
trot.
it's an automatic celly anytime they get on, but I feel like some guys are more into it. Some guys will like flash it real quick, and I feel like if I was one of them, I just real quick.
Yeah, there was always to see the sprinkler done before with their old celebration in the dugout, to see the guys who would really get into it with the water and everything, and then other guys who didn't really, like new guys would come in and not really get it. Like Ramon Laureano never truly got the sprinkler thing and would just kind of like wave his arm across his face. So I think Basayo is somebody who is embracing it.
Basayo and the Birds, they're flying different this year. Differently.
On that note, moving on. Taylor Two Bags. My guy here, like I said on the last episode, trying to make that nickname happen, and so far, he's living up to the name, leading the MLB with 10 doubles, and I'm going to go ahead and say that he leads MLB in doubles for the year.
Oh,
he goes wire to wire, leading Major League Baseball in two-baggers, and I'll tell you why. 31 home runs last year was a career high. I would expect that to be about the ceiling for Taylor Ward. Not because I don't think that he has that raw power, but because what we've seen from him throughout his career is he really is a doubles hitter. Has had a lot of high doubles totals throughout his career. Really pops off in 2025 in the home run department. Some of them carry a little bit more than maybe they used to. He is benefiting from moving from Angel Stadium to Camden Yards. It is slightly a better park to the right field side, but on the left field side, we have that big park. Now, he actually hits a lot of home runs down the line, so maybe if he can sneak it just to the left of that wall out there, he'll be able to poke a few extra over, but that is a deep fence. We've already seen a couple of home runs fall short for him in left field. I expect that to continue. So with the dimensions of Camden Yards, I'm going to say he settles in more of a doubles hitter than a home run hitter, but he ends up leading MLB in the category.
You're a big Bobby Witt guy.
Bobby Witt.
Bobby Witt was the doubles king last year with 47.
Bobby Barrels, not Bobby Two Bags.
Man, Taylor Two Bags, he's already over 20% of the way there.
Yeah, I mean, what are we, 2 weeks in at this point? So, I
Oh
mean,
man, Matt's riding with the dad strength. I mean, we just talked about his pop not showing up fully yet. I think he's going to tame down in the doubles department. I'm going to have to stay in the
lieu
nest.
of homers, you're saying? Like the homers?
In lieu of homers, yes.
Yeah, okay.
The dad strength is going to come through that way. Right now, it's coming into these Taylor two-bag doubles, but I think eventually the pop's going to come, and the doubles is going to those are going to slow down.
Slow down. I mean, he's poking some down the line. Dude just hits, man. Like, you watch his approach at the plate, and nobody is better at just waiting for their pitch. He's completely unfazed when guys are throwing stuff in the dirt. He's working long at bats, putting himself into hitters' counts. And when that happens, you get the barrel to the baseball a lot, and you're able to do a lot of good things with it. And he's strong enough, certainly, to put it over the wall. But I do think that what we've seen from him so far is more emblematic of the Taylor Ward pre-2025 than the one that we saw last year, and I'm going to go with the larger sample over 1 year.
Man, I did say he was going to lead the team in walks, so I'm still
that.
going with
That's
that.
right.
But the doubles, man, I mean, I know he's
We're going to have to start keeping a
hot...
ledger here of all these takes that we're putting down. Make sure that we're keeping ourselves honest here.
Man, well, this is my next take.
Go right ahead.
If you agree with it, this would be great for our war draft that we did. You guys can check out that episode from earlier in spring training. All right, this one's a spicy one. Rico Garcia, yet to give up a hit or a run. The right-handed reliever, Rico Garcia, earns his first career All-Star selection. I'm all aboard the Rico train.
I don't know, Jim. I don't know. Listen, I love Rico as much as the next guy. I bought in before the season started. He's been fantastic. Out of the setup role, still a 0 ERA, if I'm not mistaken. It's just really hard to be a setup man making the All-Star game, even as a fill-in or anything like that. I believe it was 3 relievers.
3 relievers, yeah.
3 relievers total made the American League team last year. I mean, it's a tough group to crack.
Josh Hader, Andres Munoz, Carlo Estevez.
Yeah. Those are good names and closers, I would also add. And certainly with Ryan Helsley on the team, he's either going to have to outperform Helsley or both of them are going to have to be so good that they both make the team. Now, this is not unheard of. The Orioles did it in 2023 with Felix Bautista and Yunier Cano. It is possible. But, man, what a rise that would be for Rico Garcia, who was a cast-off as of late last summer.
Yeah, I mean, we asked Craig Albernaz about this before Rico continued his hitless streak to start the season. By the way, I mean, this guy, I know we don't care at all about Grapefruit League stats. Didn't give up a hit in Grapefruit League in Grapefruit League play. So he's just riding this momentum. I'm riding this take all the way to the All-Star break.
You're all in on
I'm
Rico
all in on
Garcia.
Rico. Greg Albernaz said the stuff is real. He gifted, I love learning more about Craig Albernaz's personality and just like the little things that he does behind the scenes, as he loves to say, these unseen hours. Well, unseen traits of Craig Albernaz is, I was chatting with Rico, when they got back from the trip in Chicago, which you were on. You witnessed his first career MLB save.
Yep.
And how is the inside Rico's locker? He doesn't have too much stuff in there, and he's got this fresh bottle, or it's actually boxed in bottle of 1942 Don Julio. And I'm like, what are you just? And I know, liquor could be a common occurrence, like in different locker stalls. Pete Alonso, but
there's a few shot glasses laying out after the Sunday's game.
Yeah, but specifically with Rico, again, pretty clean locker, and he's got this box in there, and lo and behold, he let me know that Craig Albernaz gifted that to him. Just a classy gesture from the first year skipper. Man, if he rides or if Rico rides this momentum into an All-Star appearance, I assume, or I'm guessing that there's going to be more gifts on the way from Craig Albernaz.
I'm sure there would be. Although I will say, this one is staying in the nest for me. I like Rico Garcia. I really liked what I've seen from him so far. I do think that when Andrew Kittredge comes back, he probably resumes a role of being the top setup guy. Maybe he has to kind of work his way back into that. I also think that Anthony Nunez has looked really good so far, and if I'm ranking the relievers at this point, I think I might have Anthony Nunez second. I really believe in
that changeup is nasty, man.
It is all the off speed, the sweeper that he has as well.
Getting
really
Rafael Devers to drop on a knee like that, not many pitchers are doing that.
Yeah, and Craig Albernaz is using him in multiple inning appearances, coming in with runners on base. He's getting 8th inning setup man, 1-run lead appearances. I mean, he is being called upon as one of the most trusted guys for the first-year skipper, and I've been really impressed from what we've seen from him so far. Another guy that has just truly, I want to say, come out of nowhere as they got him in that Cedric Mullins trade. But man, Cedric Mullins' legacy is carrying on here in 2026. All right, I got one more for you here, and that is, and it's very basic, but Chris Bassitt is just fine, man. I am not worried at all about Chris Bassitt right now. I know that after 2 starts, gives up 10 runs, and everybody is like, oh, it's Charlie Morton again. He gave some interesting insight after his last outing. As I said, only went 4 2/3 innings, 2 runs. It wasn't a crazy outing, but it was certainly a better step forward from what we saw before. And he said, I couldn't say this before, but I couldn't throw my off-speed for strikes. He apparently had some crazy bullpen session where he threw nothing but off-speed pitches, just working on location. And finally, towards the end of that, he's starting to feel like he could locate that stuff again. And he still doesn't feel like he's completely back to being Chris Bassitt and having his stuff working the way he expects it to. But the way he put it was like, I can work with that, with where everything is now. So he's a guy. Doesn't throw very hard, has a lot of pitches in his repertoire. He needs to be able to throw strikes with his off-speed, or else his fastballs are just going to get clobbered. So it's really important that he's able to locate well. I trust the guy who has a veteran track record, somebody who has been able to post, but also pitch pretty well. I mean, around a 4 ERA for each of the last 4 years. I mean, an all-star and somewhere in there as well. Like, he has been that guy who has earned the benefit of the doubt a little bit. So not worried whatsoever about Chris Bassitt.
I'm leaving the nest with you, and I would have left the nest, even if he had more bad starts there, if it had gone horribly in Saturday's start. But
I just think fans are scarred from Charlie Morton, man. Like,
no,
it's
100%.
like through PTSD of like, oh, this veteran guy came in and he doesn't have it anymore. And now we look at Chris Bassitt and we're kind of looping him in there. Completely different pitchers and several years apart in age too.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about PTSD, the injury situation right now, I'm sure is giving some fans that feeling. But you bring up Charlie Morton, amazing human being, but
yeah, great
just
guy.
did not work out for him here in Baltimore. And Chris Bassitt a little bit younger, certainly a larger repertoire in terms of the pitches. And man, I think he gets through Saturday's start and he reaches that 5-inning threshold for the first time this year. If it weren't for Willie Adames,
4 2/3. Yeah.
If he doesn't reach, Willie Adames, I think there were, between his first 2 at bats, he saw 20 pitches. And I mean, when your leadoff hitter is doing that type of damage in terms of just eating up pitches, putting more stress on the arm, early in the season, as tenured as Chris Bassitt is.
Adames is such an underrated player, man.
Yeah, that's going to affect the arm here early on. But I'm with you right there, and Chris Bassitt is going to be just fine.
Yep. And we'll see him not in this upcoming series, but on the road next weekend in Cleveland, I believe. So looking forward to seeing what he can do there.
Every spring when the Orioles start hitting homers, you know it's time for Fast Play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery, with a chance to win cash instantly and other great prizes. But this season, the game is even better. Enter the Second Chance promotion through My Lottery Rewards, and you could win a new bonus prize, a VIP game day experience, including premium seat access. Enjoy the game you've always loved with a whole new way to win. Play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery. Please play responsibly.
And we're back, Josh. Talk about Ravens draft classes. We're going to go ahead and rank the Ravens' last 4 classes going back to 2022. It feels like an apt time to do that with the draft coming up, to kind of look back at some of their draft history of the past few years, get a sense of the kind of drafts that they've had and positions that they have prioritized, but also to look at how some of these players have panned out and how some haven't, which has created certain roster holes that they will have to address in this year's draft. So let's just run through real quick some of the names here in each of the drafts. I'm going to start with 2022, and that was probably the big year. Kyle Hamilton drafted at 14th overall, Tyler Linderbaum in the 25th, plus David Ojabo, 2nd round, Travis Jones drafted in the 3rd, Daniel Falele in the 4th, a big 4th round from the Ravens that year, along with Jalen Armour-Davis, tight ends Charlie Kohler and Isaiah Likely, as well as punter Jordan Stout. So 2022, a big punching year And honestly, we can just say right now, both of us have the 2022 draft class in the number one spot here. When you look at that group, I mean, what just stands out to you about the way that they were able to navigate it?
Yeah, I think obviously you look at Kyle Hamilton right at the top, and man, you think of defensive cornerstones in the NFL. Kyle Hamilton is right at the top of the list, and I know a lot of his draft mates are no longer here, and they've departed town this specific offseason. Many of them going to, John Harbaugh, and but man, you look at the headliners, Tyler Linderbaum and Travis Jones. Even getting a depth piece in Isaiah Likely, and while his career didn't necessarily take off, we saw how much talent Isaiah Likely has. And if you're a Ravens fan, honestly, and I know Harbaugh is stealing all these guys away and getting his guys as he likes to say, but you want to root for players, specifically a guy like Likely, because it didn't necessarily pop off here, but Ravens fans believed in his success when he was here, and he was a very. I think we'll all remember that catch at Pittsburgh before Tyler Loop's miss as being one of the most would have been defining plays of the season, and you root for guys like that. But man, just getting back to the draft class, man, and then to get Travis Jones, a rusher, a defensive lineman there who's played the rush well. We've seen his pass rush take a step in this past year, gets rewarded with a contract extension, but man, really those top two right there with Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum look no further.
Yeah, it certainly helps that they had so many picks in this draft, but to get 2 first-round picks and absolutely nail both of them, and getting Kyle Hamilton, who is arguably the best defensive player on the Ravens at this point, and Tyler Linderbaum, who leaves in free agency but was a fantastic center there for 4 years. You have to be pretty happy with the group they had. And to look at that group just from a positional standpoint, they go secondary with Hamilton, offensive line. They go edge rusher with Ojabo, defensive line again with Travis Jones, and then they go down in the 4th round. Offensive line, corner, tight end, punter, tight end. So you see some of those non-premium positions. They wait until day 3 to start addressing those, but really go heavy on some of the key spots there in the day 1 and day 2 picks, and it really pans out. So 2022, certainly the best draft class that we have seen from Eric DeCosta here over the last few years. And here's where it gets interesting now. I'm going to run through each of these 3 classes. I'll keep it brief. But 2023, Zay Flowers was drafted in the first round, 22nd overall. Then they go linebacker Trenton Simpson, defensive end Tavius Robinson, and offensive guard Andrew Voorhees. Those are only the 4 notable picks from that draft, mostly because they traded their 2nd and 5th round picks to Chicago for Roquan Smith there. So that was the 2023 draft. We'll call that the Zay Flowers draft. 2024, they go Nate Wiggins in the first round at the 30th overall pick. They take offensive tackle Roger Rosengarten there in the 2nd round. Outside linebacker Adisa Isaac in the 3rd. Tez Walker, wide receiver, goes in the 4th. They rounded out there TJ Tampa, cornerback, and running back Rasheen Ali in the 5th round. So again, I'm not naming every player from each draft class, but just some of the notable ones here. So we'll call that the Nate Wiggins Rosengarten draft. And then last year's draft, which obviously we only have 1 year to work with here as far as the sample size go. But they take Malachi Starks, safety, with 27th overall pick in the 1st round. Mike Green, 2nd round pick in this at the edge rusher spot. They go Emory Jones, offensive lineman, in the 3rd. Linebacker Teddy Buchanan in the 4th. Tackle Carson Vinson in the 5th, still on the team there. 6th round, they go with Tyler Loop, and a punt returner / wide receiver LeJonte Wester, and then rounding it out there in the 7th round, Anis Peebles, a defensive tackle there. So still very much raw for that 2025 group, but some things to like that we've seen from them as well. So we've got the Zay Flowers draft, the Nate Wiggins draft, and we'll call it the Malachi Starks, Mike Green draft. Which of those 3 would you put at number 2 below 2022?
All right, so we're undisputed at 2022 being the number 1.
No arguments. They are the number 1 draft the last 4 years.
This one's going to be spicy. Number 2 in that order of these, we're ranking these last 4 drafts. I'm going with the Zay Flowers draft, and it's solely based on Zay Flowers and his production that he's received. And I'll be, one of the first ones to say that, I agree with part of the fan base that, wants a big-bodied X-type receiver, and, that's nothing against Zay Flowers and his stature, but, man, with his size and his ability and what he's able to accomplish specifically over these past 2 years with back-to-back Pro Bowl selections driving up his 5th-year option price, man, And you look at the draft and where he was taken. There were 4 receivers taken in subsequent order. Man, it's JSN, so Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then it's Zay Flowers, man. And I know you're high on one of the other guys. The others are
Quentin Johnson go second, and then Zay Flowers.
Yeah, Quentin Johnson went before Zay, then Zay, and then Jordan Addison to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I know there's a debate there for Jordan Addison. I just mentioned the craving for a big-bodied receiver, and his touchdown production kind of speaks for itself in comparison to Zay with 8 more over his career, but. Man, Zay Flowers has done a lot for this team, and he's sneaky good in the open field. And I know sometimes when he catches the ball, fans kind of just wish he runs vertically instead of horizontally, man. But he makes people miss, and he's great at what he does. And that's catching the ball in open space and doing what with what he can. Obviously has that long-standing relationship there with his buddy Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you can quibble over whether they maybe should have taken Jordan Addison there. I think with the legal troubles that Jordan Addison has had to this point, probably makes it an easy decision to have gone with Zay, especially, like you say, with how he's gelled with Lamar Jackson. I think they very clearly made the right pick there. I just look at this draft class, and outside of Zay Flowers, you have linebacker Trenton Simpson, Tavius Robinson, Andrew Voorhees. I mean, like I said, they didn't have a lot of picks there because they traded 2 of them for Roquan Smith, and we're setting that aside. We're not including that in our consideration here as getting Roquan Smith for this draft class. But just looking at the class alone, it's a very underwhelming group outside of Zay Flowers. And as good as Zay Flowers has been, certainly worth whatever they're going to pay him, whether that's going to be with the 5th-year option or for a long-term extension. I think he's worth it. I just don't know that when I look at some of these other draft classes and some of the contributions they've gotten at multiple positions, that I can justify putting 2023, the Zay Flowers draft, second. I have the 2024 draft, which you actually are pretty down on here by these rankings, but Nate Wiggins and Roger Rosengarten. Nate Wiggins had a fantastic rookie year. I know that he didn't necessarily follow it up with a good second season. I think that is a big project for this coaching staff, as we talk about with a lot of guys for this team, with a defensive-minded coach coming in. But I still liked what we saw from Wiggins on the outside. I still think he can be a very good cornerback in this league. And Roger Rosengarten, really underrated player for them, developed into their full-time right tackle, I believe, by PFF, a top 30 tackle each of the last 2 years. So a good, steady presence for them on the right side of that offensive line. The interior became the problem, but the tackles, two tackle spots, really were something that you could just kind of count on. He's a guy who's blocking Myles Garrett, in games, which is, a lot of times taking on a lot of the best pass rushers. And, I thought he fared fairly well for that assignment. So to get that contribution there. And then even for this group, there's still some guys that we're waiting to see more from, like Devontae Walker. I think Rasheen Ali is going to factor in this.
Zay Flowers, by the way, very high on Devontae Walker during the availability that we had just a few days ago at the Castle. Zay Flowers was asked to, pick one of his teammates who he thinks could have a great year, and he went with Devontae Walker.
Yeah, I mean, he is the big body receiver. He's got a couple of touchdowns. I'm not necessarily sold on him being my number 3 as of now. Between him and Rashad Bateman, I'd like to see them competing for 3 and for them to bring in a 2. But for where the roster is now, it's kind of up in the air at this point. I just think that between Rosengarten and Wiggins, I feel very good about where this draft class is kind of headed. And I think that between some of the wild cards that you have a little bit later on, between Tez Walker, TJ Tampa still mixes in to the secondary group, and Ali, they have some openings there at the back end of the depth chart in terms of running back. Maybe we see Ali break through there, but I'm taking 2024 as my second best draft class the last 4 years.
Man, I'm still riding with the Zay Flowers draft,
but you're going just off Zay Flowers. One player
is
driving
a very significant player. We talked.
Would you trade?
We talked significantly.
Would you trade
about
Nate Wiggins and Roger Rosengarten for Zay Flowers?
You get.
Well, that's what we're doing, right?
I guess, but all right. So you guys can tell how high I am on Zay Flowers. Still understanding that this offense could benefit from the big-bodied red zone target, but you cannot the production alone. And we speak to this ad nauseum in terms of what it looked like last year. Imagine if they don't have a Zay Flowers. then I know we're playing the hypothetical game there, but I think he carries this draft class alone. You named all of these, the Nate Wiggins draft. I think he's still having to earn that title. I think by definition, 2023 can be the Zay Flowers draft, and we'll focus on Trent Simpson. I think. Man, I think I don't know if the jury's still out there, but it just hasn't necessarily came together for him. A former running back playing that linebacker spot. We see the tools and the traits in terms of the speed and sideline to sideline agility, but in terms of playing that position, it's still up for debate. But man, Tavius Robinson, I wouldn't say he had a breakout season this past season. I think that's still kind of brewing, especially coming off of the injury that he had. I think his trajectory was going really well, so I think this could be a very big year for Tavius Robinson. You think about the addition of Trey Hendrickson and how that will help Mike Green. We'll think about the depth too. When one of those guys are taking a snap off and you get a fresh Tavius Robinson going in there, coming off a career high in pressures and in sacks, and again, if the injury didn't slow him down, so maybe he's a late. Some late wealth or value to that draft class, which we're coining the Zay Flowers draft.
The Zay Flowers draft.
Deservedly so.
If any of these drafts can be assessed to one guy, it is definitely that. And it's not to take anything away from Zay Flowers. I think he's been a fantastic receiver, and like you said, really good in open space. Almost like a Tyreek Hill light a little bit. Maybe with a little bit less over the top speed, but certainly in open space, I think he moves like him a lot. But I am projecting a little bit on Nate Wiggins here because he is obviously coming off of a bit of a step back last season in his sophomore year. But I do really like what we've seen from Rosengarten. I think that with Wiggins in that secondary mix, he's a prime bounce back candidate for me. Marlon Humphrey is still on this team, and what exactly he's able to still do at this stage of his career. And Wiggins is probably going to be the cornerback one, if not to start the year, by the end of the year, if things trend in the same direction for Humphrey. So I feel very good about what they are going to be doing in 2026. Is that projecting a little bit? Yes, but I do think that just because Flowers is so clearly above everybody else in that draft class, I knock it down a little bit just for having no floor.
I will add that Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey, finished top or bottom five rather in yards allowed in the NFL. If there was one, if I had to pick one beneficiary of the Jesse Minter effect, like the top beneficiary, I think I'm going with Nate Wiggins. Jesse Minter, he loves his tall defensive backs, and Nate Wiggins fits that mold, and we know his upside. We've seen the downs as well, and also played with an injury last year. Jesse Minter never revealed what that was, but
or Minter.
Minter, yeah. Minter's one of Minter's first press conferences. I think might have been at the combine. We're testing him, see what he's gonna tell us, and he elected to go the route where Craig Albernaz. Craig Albernaz. Shout out to Albie. He's being more revealing and forthcoming. With the injuries, but man, even with one that had happened last year, and I know it was under his watch, but obviously he gets these players, and these are now his players. Didn't want to reveal what Nate Wiggins was going through, so we'll have to wait until we see Nate. So while knowing that he dealt with that, I think whatever it was, I think again, if there was a top beneficiary of the Jesse Minter effect, man, you look at what he's been able to accomplish in Los Angeles with all those defensive backs and the resurgent turnarounds, career turnarounds that they've had there. I think Nate Wiggins is heading into year 3 a hot candidate for that spot.
So we each have 2022 as our top pick. You go the 2023 draft second. I go the 2024 draft second. And then we both have 2025 here in the 3 spot, which means that I see the Nate Wiggins draft at the bottom of this group. You see I see the Zay Flowers draft at the bottom of this group. You see the Nate Wiggins Rosengarten draft, which is crazy to me as putting that group behind 2025, which really didn't have any breakout players in this past season. We saw some flashes from Malachi Starks and Mike Green. Emory Jones had some good looks as well. Tyler Loop was in this draft and certainly fared pretty well as a rookie kicker, only to miss the biggest kick of the year. So we both have them 3. We feel good about the direction this group is headed, but as you look at this group now, who do you feel like has to really step up next season for this group to rise up the rankings in your mind?
Yeah, I think the easy answer would be Mike Green, and given all the attention that's gone to edge rusher with the Max Crosby fallout and them getting Trey Hendrickson and how that affects the rushers around him or across from him rather, as it pertains to Mike Green. But man, you look at the state of this offensive line, and I'm going with Emory Jones Jr. And I think a lot of pressure on Eric DeCosta, and he needs to see Emory Jones not just be on the field, but be a contributor after the injuries the injury that he entered last season with was kept on IR for more than a good chunk of the season. And man, for a day 2 pick, round 3. And going with a risk in terms of his availability from the get-go. They're going to want to see some return here as Emory Jones heads into year 2, which is really going to be like his rookie season, man, especially given all that time that he missed, we talked about during the season, but the ramp-up period as well. So it's going to be his full first offseason, and obviously the front office and Eric DeCosta, they were very high on him to take him with that pick. And now they need to see Emory Jones really put in the work. And to his credit, he has. Especially just seeing what we're gauged off social media. Emory Jones has definitely been in the gym working out. So, as off-season workouts ramp up here, we'll see exactly how he fits on the field. But I think Emory Jones Jr. is the most pressure in terms of facing this upcoming season.
Yeah, and I think what they do in this upcoming draft could go a long way in shaping that as well. The Ravens haven't drafted a offensive lineman in the first round since Tyler Linderbaum in 2022, so that certainly seems like it could be in play for them, as Sam talked about on the last episode, something that he kind of fully expects them to do with that number 14 overall pick. I agree that Emory Jones, we haven't really gotten to see enough of him yet. Being relied on for extended periods of time. So how exactly they decide to slot him into this group is going to be really interesting to see. And what do you think about Malachi Starks, though? Because I feel like as far as this secondary goes, he's the least talked about guy. But as a rookie goes and a first-round pick, what did you see from him that first season?
Yeah, I think he can play multiple spots, and obviously it helps when you have a guy like Kyle Hamilton manning the secondary with you. There was a specific moment, and you and I have talked, kind of away from the camera about this, but I'll always remember this because I was even texting with people in Malachi's family when the play happened. But he had a gimme in week 1, Josh Allen. Basically just overthrew his receiver and hit Starks right in the hands, and he's not able to come up with it. That would have been a huge takeaway for that defense, and we know obviously what ended up happening in that collapse. And I think if you can point to different moments throughout that game, but that was one that really stuck with me, that if Malachi makes that play, maybe his trajectory throughout his rookie season, because after those games after that, it's like you're counting when's he gonna make his first impact play, when's he gonna come down with his first pick, which eventually happened later in the year. I believe he had 2 interceptions, but man, and then you wonder you play the hypothetical of what could have gone with the Ravens season if they pull away with that victory in Buffalo. But man, just getting back to Malachi Starks, certainly a high price to pay at a position that you don't see a lot of safeties go, and now the Ravens have 2 first-rounders in there. I'd argue obviously one has certainly proved his worth and has been handed the top contract, which. And I know the question was about Malachi Starks, but man, Kyle Hamilton, what a guy. We're talking about, a defensive cornerstone, but he reset the market almost for himself. I mean, I don't think we're going to see like safeties really get close to that.
Right. At
least for another year.
I mean, he does so many things well. You slap the safety tag on him, but he can rush the passer a little bit off the edge if you need him to. He obviously can work in coverage. He does well over the top. I mean, he's just a jack of all trades kind of player, and somebody who I know watching that draft, the way that shook out, I mean, it felt right away like the Ravens just nailed that pick. I think it was just the consensus immediately that was a guy who's going to fit so well in Baltimore, and he has been as advertised and more. So you can't talk about the Ravens secondary without talking about Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, and Kyle Hamilton, another one of the players that were made available just a few days ago at the Castle following the beginning of the first phase of the offseason. And he was asked about the free agent additions, and I thought it was pretty telling that he brought up Malachi Starks unsolicited. So, he's we're talking about the new guys, but don't forget about my guy who came here last year. So
Yeah.
I think that shows to Malachi's work ethic behind the scenes for a player like Kyle Hamilton to say that. So we'll see how their pairing takes place under Jesse Mintzer here.
Yeah, so a fun exercise here just to kind of look back at those, but I want to read off to you just all of the positions that the Ravens have drafted with day 1 and day 2 picks, so rounds 1 through 3, okay? Just reading through these positions here. Safety, center, offensive line, outside linebacker, defensive tackle, wide receiver, off-ball linebacker, cornerback, tackle, outside linebacker, safety, edge rusher, offensive line. When I read all of that to you right now, it's clear that, only one pass catcher in all of that with Zay Flowers. They obviously hit on that one pick. They go heavy on the secondary with multiple corners, multiple safeties. And then
Eric DeCosta loves the exotic cars. Shout out to Sam Cohen, who will love to bring that one up.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And then you have some edge rushers and linebackers in there. One off-ball linebacker, a center, to shaking things up. But when you look at those groups and the way that they've prioritized positions, coupled with where they are roster needs, where do you feel like are the most logical positions that they're going to be going, not just with their first-round pick, but their day 2 picks as well? What do you feel like, based off of that track record, is kind of screaming them towards?
I think certainly the trenches. And, the trenches can be such a tossed-around word, but, offensive line, obviously, and then you look at edge rusher, and then defensive tackle, and I know that's pending Nnamdi Madubuike's situation, which, again, remains mum, but, you assume that he's working out, and, the team is saying all these great things about him, that it's trending in that right way. But you mentioned those recent drafts. I'm going to bring it back even further. So since 2019, which was Eric DeCosta's first draft, so he's overseen 7 drafts as the team's general manager. During that span, he has made 13 premium selections, so first or second round picks, with 5 of those dedicated to offensive and defensive line. So that's almost 40%. So I think that tells you right there that
I think it's a pretty safe bet for them to go there. I think whether or not they go D-line on first day 2, their day 1 or day 2 picks can tell us a lot about where they feel about Nnamdi Madubuike. But honestly, if I'm a Ravens fan and they go in to day 1 and day 2 and they come out of it with an offensive lineman, a pass catching wide receiver, and
could be a tight end.
Could be a tight end. I wouldn't rule out this tight end class, this tight end and wide receiver class. Fantasy football fans out there, this is a great class for them with Jeremiah Love at the top. If you got your dynasty league loading up on draft picks, this is a good year to do it. But no, I think if Ravens go in there and they come out of day 2 with those 3 picks, and they've got an offensive lineman, they've got a pass catcher, whether it be a tight end or a wide receiver, and some type of edge rusher, I feel really good about that group.
Yeah, we're getting closer to the draft, less than 2 weeks now. Mm-hmm. Obviously, myself, Sam Cohen, Mike Preston, Brian Wacker, we will be at the castle ready to give you all that coverage, but we've got 3 more episodes up until the draft.
Yeah.
So
we'll have a big preview episode day before the draft. So we've been trying to foray into draft territory without going full-blown pick-by-pick players for each pick yet.
It's heating up,
We'll get there. Yeah, it's heating up, certainly. Super excited for that episode with you guys. And as y'all can see who are watching, studio is coming together. These microphones not yet operational. That's why we still got the ones clipped to our chest here. But it is really coming together here. We're super excited for the way things have been shaping up.
At some point soon, we'll
episodes.
have different camera angles.
Yeah, we actually have some cameras set up that we're not using yet as well. But we're figuring out all the technology here over the next week or so. So super excited to kind of do the full reveal, which will be about 20 episodes into the show. Can't believe we're already almost at 20. Time's been flying, man.
20 episodes in?
We're 18 today. This is 18.
18.
Yeah.
All right. When we hit 20, I'm going to buy a Maryland lottery ticket to celebrate.
Hell yeah. That's what I like to hear. All right, Josh, that's going to do it for us here on Early Birds. We want to thank y'all so much for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Give us a follow at Sun Early Birds over on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Josh, any final words for the good people?
Man, stay healthy. The Orioles, they're going through this, man. With Mountie, they're going to have 13 guys on the IL. I've got a column on today's Baltimore Sun that you can check out that depth is being tested early, but you stay healthy, Matt.
I will. I might have to put myself in bubble wrap showing up to Camden Yards with the way things are going there right now. But for Josh Tolentino, I'm Matt Weyrich. Thank you all so much for listening, and have a good one.